Hey beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I guess you can call it a podcast. And we are here today to get started on our newest show, which is All the Queen's Men with Miss Eva doing the damn thing. Alright, so let's get started on episode 1. So the episode opens and we're in the bedroom with Eva. She's waking up and we see all these different silhouettes of her and all of her thoughts. And she's just like, what's going on? Did I pay the bills? You could just tell that she's overwhelmed with so much stuff to do. And then she also says something about, I can't believe my dad has Alzheimer's and, I want to fuck my sister up. Another one is, I'm not sick. And then she says, I'm not taking these pills. I don't care what they say. So all of that stuff is important. But yeah, poor Eva has a lot on her mind, basically. So as she's having these thoughts, one of them, which was hilarious to me, she was like, I wonder if I could kill my sister. And she's also saying, like, who are you? And she's doubting herself. Like, I'm you. And she's like, you used to be me. And she's like, you call yourself a bad bitch? Like, she's just doubting herself because she's so overwhelmed. But then she gets a phone call, and all we hear on the other line is, hey, auntie, I'm out. So then we have the opening sequence. And you guys, this is my only complaint. And what are we on? BET Plus? BET Plus, y'all got to get it together because we should be able to skip this. There was nowhere to skip this in any of these episodes. Come on, y'all got to get with it. On Netflix and Hulu and everything, we can skip all of this crap. We don't want to watch this every time we watch an episode. Alright, so after the beginning sequence, we have a full-on sex scene. So there's this guy and this girl in the bed. They're doing it. And he has on all type of leather belts and stuff like that. And she's telling him, you gotta go. My husband's here. And she's calling him Alan. Alan is here, you gotta go. He's like, I don't care about your husband. And she's like, no, you gotta go. So she sneaks him out the window. Husband comes in looking at her very suspiciously because she's standing by the window. She's just standing there looking crazy. So yeah, the husband knows. So she's acting full on nervous around her husband and she's about to try to get in the shower and he's like, where are you going? She's like, I got a shower. He's like, yeah, but before you do. And he sits down and he, rubs in between her legs and smells and yuck. So then he asks her, so you had him park around the back, huh? And she doesn't say anything. So he slaps her on the bed. And then he rolls her around, he's like choking her, and he's like, you're gonna tell me who it is. And she's not saying anything. Of course, she's just screaming and crying. Then he turns her over, and we have a full-on rape scene. And you guys, I don't care that they're married. The way this was done, it was a full-on rape scene. So now we see Madam, because that is what Eva's name is in this. She is Madam. So we see Madam standing by her Jeep, and we see someone in Tim's coming out, and it's her nephew. He walks up to her, and he's like, hey, auntie. And then he looks at her, and he says, Madam. And he's like, good to see you. And she's like, throw that shit in the car. But she does give him a smile. No hugs, no nothing like that, but she does give him a smile. So he gets in the car and she's like, okay, so 60 days in a halfway house and you're free. And he's like, yeah. And he thanked her for picking him up. And wait, did I say that right? He thanked her for picking him up. Yeah, I did. And then he said, you're the only family member who hasn't disowned me. And she's like, so yeah, so after 60 days, you're free. He's like, yeah, I just got to get a job. And she's like, we can always work at the club. And he's like, yeah, thanks, but kind of no thanks. So you guys, the nephew is actually Sylvester in real life, and I know because I used to follow him years ago on Instagram. But I believe he was on that show with Vivica when she was trying to do like the traveling strippers and everything, but it was like a reality show, and I want to say he and Vivica bumped heads a lot, so I don't think he was on there long. He was kind of combative from what I can remember. But anyway, his acting could use a little bit of work, but he's very good to look at. So on the way home, he asks her if she could do him a favor and make a quick stop. And she's like, fine, what's the address? Meanwhile, we have a court scene with a girl and her lawyer and a guy by himself standing in front of a judge. So the judge asks him, where's your attorney? And he's like, I can't afford one. So the girl starts screaming, he's lying. So then, the judge is telling her, be quiet. So the attorney for the girl is saying, Your Honor, he works at a club named called Eden, and he's a male exotic dancer. He makes a lot of money. He makes over $1,000 a night or whatever. So the judge says, is this true? And he's like, no, it isn't. And the girl says, he's lying. Ask what kind of car he drives. And she's like, young lady, be quiet. The judge says, Mr. Brown, I'm giving you 7 days to show your tax records, and if they're not up to par, I'm locking you up. You'll be dancing behind bars. So the girl is screaming, 7 days? You giving him 7 days? And the judge is just like, shut up. Meanwhile, back in the car with Eva, and not Eva, I'm sorry, her name is Madam, so we'll start calling her Madam. With Madam and her nephew, they pull up to wherever he wanted to go. He happily jumps out the car. He walks up to a lady, that's doing her gardening, and he's like, hey, Miss Evans. And she turns around and she's like, yes. And then she sees him and she's like, not you. And he's like, I just want to say I'm sorry. She slaps him. And at this point in time, she's like, you don't get to say you're sorry. At this point in time, a black car pulls up. Madam is on the phone, so we hear her like fussing at somebody on the phone, not paying attention. But then she sees the car pull up, and the guy gets out the car, runs up to the nephew, and puts a gun in his head. And he's like, turn around. I've been waiting 10 years for this. Now we see Madam gets out the car, and all you can see is her gold gun in her hand, and she's walking, doing her next top model walk. You guys, Eva played the shit out of this part. I'm sorry. But every time she walked, it was still a next top model walk, and I wasn't mad at it at all. So she walks up and she puts the gun to the son's head, and the mom is like, Terry, don't do it. You know, you'll end up going to jail. And I'm like, or dead. So Eva tells the nephew to get in the car. So they get in the car and she yells at him. She's like, what the fuck was that all about? And he's like, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. She goes, that was the mom? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, listen, next time you need to give me a heads up before you do some stupid shit like that. She's like, you almost got yourself killed. He's like, yes, madam. So now we see 2 guys walking back at the courthouse. The guy that just got off, well, he has to show his taxes, and another guy. And the other guy is telling him, listen, you should just have Miss Patty represent you. She'll get you off. And he's like, nah, if she found out I had an 8-year-old, she would cut me off. And he's like, she's taking care of you like that? And he's like, yeah, but every time, and then he says, well, just break off the baby's mom, some money or whatever. He's like, no, because every time I go over there, she's got her hair done, she got red bottoms on, and my kid is running around with no clothes on. So, nah. So Madam and her nephew show up at a house, and he's about to jump out the car all happily. He's just a happy guy. And she's like, nah, after what you just pulled, stay in the car. So she walks in, she's calling for Carla. You see a guy in the wheelchair. She walks up to him, with a smile on her face. She's touching his hair. She's like, hey, daddy. And then she's running around calling for Carla. Carla is nowhere to be found. So she sees that he has used the restroom on himself and everything. So she calls for her nephew to come in and help her out. Oh, but she's pissed. Yeah, she's pissed. So nephew comes in, and yeah, Madam is all upset. She's like crying, like, look at how she left him. And nephew is like, don't worry about it, auntie, I got it. So he's like, hey, grandpa. Grandpa says something, kind of off the wall, and I guess he's taking him upstairs to shower him and clean him up. So now we're at the doctor's office, and we see this gorgeous chocolatey guy sitting on the table, and the doctor telling him, you got to start using condoms. And he's like, dang, I ain't even say nothing. And he's like, that's not what I'm here for. Doctor's like, what are you here for? So he shows him that part of his penis is turning black. And he's like, doctor's like, yeah, it's dying. And he's like, dying? He's like, yeah, you can't keep cutting off the circulation with that ring every night. You're killing it off. So dude is like, but this is how I make my money. I have to cut it off. He says, doc, I'm a shower. No, he says, I'm a grower. So he's like, yeah, if you keep doing that, you're going to end up losing it. So yeah, he didn't upset Doc, because Doctor is tired of him. He's like, listen, you got to quit coming to me with these issues, and then when I tell you what you need to do, you don't want to do it. And he's like, well, then you need to give me some better advice. And the doctor says, okay, look, if you stop doing this, then maybe the blood, will go back to that region and it won't die off. And he's like, yeah, okay. All right, so sister finally gets home. And by the way, sister is Ronnie from Players Club. And I did finally find a better picture of her. So the next time I put her up, I promise you it will not be Ronnie. But that's who she is, guys. But she's all grown up now, and she comes sauntering through the door like nothing happened. And Madam is like, where the fuck have you been? And she's like, who you talking to? You're not talking to me like that. She's like, yeah, I'm talking to you like that. You left him sitting here in his own shit. And she's like, have you been smoking in here? And I'm like, that's all she cares about is if she's been smoking? So Madam says, I'm talking to you about him and you want to talk to me about smoke? And she says, let me just put him in a home. And she's like, no, I won't let you put him in a home. And you just mad that I have power of attorney. And she's like, is it about money? Do you want money? And she's like, I don't want your dirty money. And she's like, you're the reason why he's like this in the first place. And Madam looks at her nephew, and then she looks back at her sister, and she says, how the fuck is it my fault that he has dementia? I'm sorry, I died. So Carla says, I'm not talking about the dementia. I'm talking about him being shot. And Madam, she's kind of crying, and she's like, that was a long time ago. And Carla says, how long does it take for you to forget that you've been shot? Madam says, listen, he's my father too, Carla. And she says, bitch, please. And when she calls her a bitch, nephew jumps up and he's like, hey. And she's like, nigga, what you doing here anyway? Why you bringing him up in here? And she's like, you better get your ass out of here. God, it's so much cursing. I'm sorry, Mom, if you're watching this. But it really is. Like, I'm giving y'all, like, kind of verbatim as much as I can. But she tells him to get out or whatever, and she calls him a murderer, and then he's just looking all crazy. And you guys, I'm a little confused because does Madam have more siblings? Because how is this her nephew? Is this his mom acting like that? Like, I don't understand. They never said anything else about other siblings, but literally he called him grandpa. They call each other nephew and auntie or whatever. So who's the mom of this guy? So nephew says, Madam, let's just go. And she's like, we ain't going nowhere. And the sister says, Madam? Oh, they call you Madam now? And she's like, yeah, it's just a matter of time before they find your ass dead. She told her all that illegal stuff you got going on down at that club, screwing all those men. And then she said, that are rich. And it just kind of didn't go. But she just didn't say rich men. It's all right. And then she's like, you going straight to hell, and I can't wait. So Madam says, listen here, Carla, I know we're sisters. And then Carla says, half sisters. And she's like, whatever, but if I catch them sending this shit again, I'm gonna fuck that half up. Believe that. And she's like, let's go. So Madam and nephew make it to the club, and as they're walking in, they bump into trouble, which just so happens to be Carter the Body. And I know this because I used to follow Carter the Body a couple years ago, but I had to delete her on Instagram because all I saw was a lot of her backside, because she really does strip in real life. And when I tell you the ladies really do love her, they really do love her. But she's asking her, can she strip there? And she's like, no, my ladies love the men. And she's like, your ladies would love me. And she's like, I said no. That's it. So when they get in the club, they run into Dime. And Madam is like, let me introduce you to, Amp. And she's like, oh, new dancer? And she's like, no, that's my nephew. And she's like, do me a favor. Can you take him to the halfway house? So Dime says, okay. And then she says, your suit is over there. And Madam says, why isn't it in my office? And she said, oh, I just didn't have a chance to take it in there. And she said, okay, we'll bring it in my office before you leave. Thank you. I'm like, dang. I just want to call her Eva so bad. She's not Eva, she's Madam. But she's playing that part. So they make it to the halfway house, and he says, it's right here. And she's like, you know we have navigation, right? And I'm like, probably not. He looked down like, girl, I've been in jail. I don't know. So she's like, yeah, you're here at your halfway house. And he's like, so are you going to ask what I'm in here for? And she's like, no, none of my business, but hopefully you learned your lesson. And he's like, yeah, 1,000 times over. So he asks her if she works at the club. And she's like, yeah, I'm the DJ. And she's like, and Madam's assistant. And she starts smiling. She's like, something like a manager. And she's like, so are you going to work at the club? And he's like, nah, I'm going to get, a different job. And she's like, okay, good luck with that. He's like, why you say it like that? She's like, because, halfway house, I assume you've been in jail. It's not going to be easy to find a job. He's like, well, yeah, but, I don't want to be around all the alcohol and stuff. He's like, my grandfather owned the club and I grew up around it. And I feel like that's the reason why I'm in this situation. So, yeah, I just don't want to be around it. She's like, okay. So of course they have like this energy between them where you can tell that, they're attracted. But he is attractive, you guys. I just want his acting. Season 2. I think season 2 is going to be better. So I'm not going to be negative, but yeah, season 2 for him. All right, so I just want to clarify because I don't want to be negative on this review because I really, really enjoyed the show. He does fine. I just think that he kind of overdoes the super nice guy thing. It's like, okay, we get it. You're nice, you're innocent, we get it. Don't overdo it with the looks and the super aloofness. I get it, okay? Meanwhile, we're back in the office with Madam, and she walks into her office, and guess who's in there doing something with the wall or whatever? It's Blue. It's Blue. Y'all, when I tell you this lady played her part, I was just so hyped for Blue. So hyped for Blue. I'm like, I want a friend like Blue. Blue and Madam, listen, dynamic duo. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And guess who she is, you guys? Guess who Blue is? Can y'all guess? Oh, only the lady who took out the billboard asking Tyler Perry for a job. Yeah, that's her. She's giving me all kind of patina. I don't know Patina's last name, but y'all know she's on Raising Kanan, Power Book 3 or whatever. Yes, Miss Blue did her thing. So congratulations to the lady who took out the billboard. That's money well spent, sis. And Tyler Perry did a great job in Christian Keys and signing you up because you did a phenomenal job. But anyway, let's get back to the story. So Blue says, Madam, you gotta get this money out of here. And she's like, I know, I am. And she's like, nah, seriously, you can't keep leaving this money in here overnight. And she's like, I don't trust nobody. And she's like, yeah, I know. She's like, but I'm not worried about it because, if something jump off, you got them. And Blue does this little laugh and she's like, yeah, because I killed every effer. I'm not going to say it. Yeah, I got to say it. She's like, yeah, I killed every motherfucker in here. And she's like, I know. So Blue says, you look stressed. What's wrong? She's like, nothing. And she's like, don't tell me it's your sister and your dad. And she's like, listen, I got to get a lawyer. So Blue is like, what's wrong with Marcus? She's like, nah, I need like a family lawyer or whatever. And she's like, isn't Miss Patty a lawyer? And Blue starts laughing and she's like, nah, you don't want to use Miss Patty. And she's like, what's wrong with Miss Patty? I heard she's good. She's like, yeah, but she drives a Prius and she takes care of Babyface. So Babyface is the one that was in court about the child support, you guys. And when they were leaving and he was talking to the other guy about, telling Miss Patty that he has a kid, he's like, nah, I can't tell her or else she won't take care of me anymore. So this lawyer is the one that's taking care of Babyface, who of course is a dancer at Eden. That's the name of the club. So yeah, she's like, nah, I think I wanna use her. And she's like, okay, well let me see if she's coming in the club tonight. And she's like, yo, we're gonna get this money out of here tomorrow. And she's like, okay. So now we go back to the bedroom where when it first started, they were, he was, sleeping with this lady and her husband came in. So she just so happens to call one of the strippers who is Doc. And that's the one that was there with her earlier. And she tells him, yeah, come by later. He's like, cool. She's like, I'll leave the key, park around back. And then we see that her husband is in the room with her. So they're kind of setting him up. And the husband is like, oh, you fucking one of these strippers at my club? And he's like, nah, she gonna sell this club. And he's like, I'm gonna try to be cool about it, but she gonna sell this club. Yeah, and then he burns his wife with this cigarette on her ankle. And she ain't even move it fast enough. She didn't even move it like it was hurting. She just started crying. I'm like, girl, that ain't hurt. Because you ain't even move your leg fast enough. I'd have just kicked him right on off that bed. Period. So she's checking out the men. Madam is in the men's dressing room now. And she sees El Fuego. And you guys, I'm going to try to find pictures of them. But right now, it's kind of hard to find pictures of these people. But I'm going to look. But he's speaking all, me gusta, madam. And she's like, Okay, Poppy. He's like, I just love it when you call me Poppy. And then she's like, oh my God, what is that smell? So she walks up to Babyface and he's putting on, I guess, Ben Gay. Because she's like, really? You gonna go out there again smelling like peppermint? And he's Ben Gaying up his knee like nobody's business. And she's like, I had a complaint from a lady who said that she couldn't feel her tongue. And he's like, well, she was licking on my leg. So then Doc comes walking in late. She's like, listen, you know I don't play this stuff. So he hands her some money. She's like, be here on time. And then you guys, Midnight. Oh my God. He's the one that was at the doctor's office. Comes out butt ass naked. And we got to see a little frontal. Thank you, Tyler Perry and Christian Keys. Because Midnight, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And even when he turned around, his body is just like, yes, sir. So yeah, she's telling them, get out there, let's get it done. Yeah, before she goes out, she's like, game time. And she hits Midnight on his butt and she kind of grabs it a little bit. And I'm like, girl, you better. And she goes out and she speaks with, what's her name, Dime. And she's like, is everything all set? She's like, yeah, everything is good. Like, she's just totally relaxing. And she's like, I took care of this, took care of that. And Madam is like, okay, so this promotion suits you. All right, y'all. So the Club Eden is opening, and let me tell y'all, the corniest thing throughout this whole show is that anytime they show the ladies outside in line, the whole line is like dancing. And I'm like, that's so corny. Can y'all just make it more realistic? Don't have them out there dancing like that. When I tell you every one of these women in line dancing, it's just so random. It's very random. All right, so we get to see the 4 elite men on stage doing a dance routine. Ladies love them. Beautiful. All the money is flowing. Great. So Blue comes and stands next to Madam, and she's like, Alan's outside. He won't come in, but he wants to see you. And she's like, yeah, I think him seeing Midnight naked kind of traumatized him. And she's like, I'll go see what he wants. So she go out to the car. So Madam goes to the car, and who is it that's in the car? Her business partner, which is Alan, the lady's husband. And he's like, listen, we got an offer on the Club Eden. And she's like, my club is not for sale. And he's like, did you forget we have a 51-49 split, which means I can entertain any offer I want to. And he's like, listen, it's not personal. This is just business. So she's like, look, Fisk, my club is not for sale. Fuck with me if you want to. And he's like, you didn't even let me tell you the number or whatever. It's a good deal. And she's like, yeah, who is it? And he's like, what did he say? Mark or something like that. And she's like, my old boss. And she's like, yeah, over my dead body. So he tells her, it's a good deal, madam. And she gets out the car, slams the door and says, for who? And then walks into the club. And he looked pissed off, but he kept it real cute. I swear he ain't do none of that talking like he did when he was at home with his wife. Oh, she gonna sell this club. He kept it real cute. So Madam and Blue go back to her office, and Blue is like, what do you want? And she's like, he ain't talking about nothing, talking about trying to sell the club. And she's like, nah, you didn't work too hard to get all this. And Blue starts laughing and is like, he's just mad because Doc is fucking his wife. And Madam is like, what? Does he know? And she's like, nah, he don't know. You know he'll fuck him up if he knew. So Madam says, nah, he don't know Doc. And then she says, you know what, but let me check something. So she picks up her phone, makes a phone call, and she's like, Tina. And on the other line, she says, yeah. And she's like, let me ask you something, and I want you to answer it honestly, or I'm going to have somebody pay you a visit. The lady says, please don't. She says, does Adam know you're fucking Doc? And she don't say anything. So Madam says, answer me, bitch. So Madam is like, does your husband know you fucking Doc? And she's like, yeah, he just found out tonight. And she's like, he wants me to have him come over. And Madam is like, come over where? And she's like, to my house tonight. And they just hang up. She just hangs up on Tina and looks at Blue. And they look like, okay. So then Eden is the club. So then Madam and Blue go out into the club. And Blue is like, okay, there goes Miss Patty. And Miss Patty is turning up. And she's giving all her money to Babyface, whom she's taking care of. So Madam walks over and she's like, hey, Miss Patty, can you share Babyface tonight? And she's like, okay. And so she tells Babyface, there's somebody waiting for you in VIP. And she's like, she got on a big old rock. So Babyface tells her, okay, I'll go. And then he's like, I heard Roman's in the parking lot. And she's like, Roman? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, all right, thank you. And she's like, go make that money. And he's like, okay. So then she's back in her office and she calls Midnight. And she's like, Midnight, remember that promoter I told you about? So she says, this promoter that's been dodging me is over at the other club across the street. And I heard he's buying bottles and tables or whatever. And he's like, okay, let me go have a conversation. And she says, no, I can handle it, but I do want you and Blue to go with me. And he's like, I get to watch. She then goes in her ice bucket and take out some brass knuckles and puts them on. And then we see Babyface going into VIP. And who is that? Oh, that's the judge that was overseeing his child support case that says she wanted to see his tax returns that he told he does not work at the club. Yeah, she's in VIP waiting for a private dance. He looks up and sees her and she goes, I was down there. Looks like a lot more than $1,000 a week to me. And he goes, shit. And she starts laughing. She said, let me tell you how this gonna go. If I don't like what you're giving, you're going to jail. And he's like, dang. And she's like, now get on your knees. And in the words of Rocks, it's Rocks, she wants a little face in the place. So he puts face in the place. All right, so then we see Madam and Blue and Midnight go across the street, and this guy is going to his car, and she hits him in the face with the ring. And she's like, yeah, I want my money. And she's like, and if I don't get it soon, this is gonna feel like a massage. Then Midnight go over there and rob him. While he's laying on the ground, he goes through his pockets, take his watch off, and everything else. So she politely goes back to her office and wipes the blood off the brass knuckles and puts them back in the ice bin. And she takes out some pills, and she takes a pill. And remember in the beginning when she was saying, I'm not sick, and something about some pills. So something's going on with her health, but we don't know just yet. So it's the end of the night. Everyone's settling up, bringing their money in. And when Doc comes, she's like, hey, Doc, what are you getting into tonight? And he's like, nothing. Just tired. Probably gonna go home, go to bed. She's like, oh, okay. And she's looking at him like, So then we have Fuego and Midnight in their little dressing room. And Midnight says, hey, Fuego, you want to go do this private party with me? He's like 1,000 plus tips or whatever. And he's like, these ladies be paying good. And he's like, you gotta hump them ladies or whatever. And it's so funny, you guys, because Midnight has a lisp. And it just sounds so cute on him, though, because Midnight can get it. So, yeah, Fuego says no. So then we see Doc going back into that bedroom that he was in earlier. And he's walking in and he's like, hey, why is it so dark? Then we see Alan, the husband, and he has a gun to his head. And he's like, because you about to die, motherfucker. And she shoots him in the head. Madam walks in, shoots him in the head, and she says, no, that would be you. And Doc is looking like, oh my God. And he's actually holding his chest like he's clutching his pearls. Listen, Doc is not with all of this. All he does is dance and hump married ladies. He's not into all of this killing. What's going on, madam? And that is the end of episode 1. All right, you guys, if you are still here, thank you so much. You are the real MVP. Thank you for joining me. I will be doing episode 2 very soon, tomorrow or something like that. But it'll be up soon. And thank you guys. If you guys have not subscribed already, please do. You would be doing me a huge favor. I'd appreciate it. And I will see you back here for the next video. Smooches.